This week on MS Refresh, Sean and I are in the same place together? My goodness.
It's almost like we've finally proven we're not the same person.
And everybody thought that we totally were.
The controversy.
Yes, definitely. And this is your November edition of the Roadmap Recap for Microsoft Teams.
There's a lot of exciting stuff. I think what we're going to see here is a lot of quality of life enhancements, both on the consumer and the small business side of things, whether it's scheduled send, necessary and important functionality, but also the ability to accept payments via Teams, something I plan on doing when anybody tries to schedule any meeting with me ever. But there's a lot more to come in the news.
All that and more. Subscribe to stay in the know. This is the MS Refresh Show. Hi there, and welcome to the Matt and Sean 365 Refresh Show. This is episode 76 for the work week of November 14th, 2022, and this month's episode devoted to Microsoft Teams news. Coming to you still from the East Coast, my name is Matt Wade.
And I'm back on the West Coast, Sean Bugler.
Mr. Bugler, it was nice to see you in person.
Yeah, it was nice to see you as well. A lot of people don't know, but you and I, in our spare time, everybody thinks this is kind of our spare time when you and I connect, but this is actually only one of two hobbies we have. Our second one is storm chasing.
Yes.
So it was really nice to be able to reconnect with you as we were chasing the hurricane, Category 1 Hurricane Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
How was your hurricane adventure? Did you enjoy it as much as I did?
It was good with me. I landed early enough that the landing was reasonably smooth. There was a little bit of on the way in, but I think it was really just there was rain overnight, and then it was really, really windy for most of the next day.
Yeah. No, it was great. My hair was so windswept in a good way. Like, I wish I could replicate that. If I could just capture that windblown look all the time.
Every day.
I'd be in a great spot.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
It was funny when we when Kelly and I left on Friday, we left, the hurricane had been gone for a day or so. We had flown so far up into North Carolina for our connecting flight. We had caught back up with the storm at that point. And our flight got delayed again.
Perfect. And you're like, Nicole. That was the hurricane's name, was Nicole.
That was the hurricane's name. No, it was good. We made it out safe. We had a lot of fun. It was good to see you. And I ate and drank far too much responsibly.
Yes. No, of course. I can double that up and say the exact same thing. And it was good seeing you, others, all together for first time in a while for a lot of us, actually.
A question for you: because we went to Epcot, Disney's Epcot, and of course they have their annual food and wine festival. What was the best thing you ate while we were there?
So there was a braised beef on a mashed potato base, and when you purchase these things at these festivals, they're all little individual size things.
They want you to eat lots of things. They don't want you to eat one thing.
Exactly. And they want you to buy a bunch of small overpriced things to go down with your mildly sized overpriced drinks as well. But that was at the Belgium kiosk. That was my favorite. What about you?
I really enjoyed. They had an escargot pastry in France. It was literally the first thing we got.
I remember.
I really enjoyed that. I wouldn't say that escargot is necessarily my de facto go-to when I have the opportunity, but I'm never disappointed with it. As long as it's well cooked.
I had it for the first time on a cruise back in the day, and when you're on a cruise and everything's paid for, it's
a lot of faith in that.
Well, it was pretty good, and I mean, once you dip something in oil, spices and garlic, nothing is bad with that.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
But I would say second to that would have been this guava cheesecake. That was pretty good.
Where'd you get that? I don't know if I remember that.
I think that was Hawaii.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'll have to double check, but no, I was happy with it.
Yeah, your options were kind of limited because I think they closed or they didn't open half of the kiosks because of the hurricane, and they opened the park late, which because we were there together. But there were a number of things that people had a whole list of. We wanted to try this, and this, and a bunch of them we couldn't do, which I already have my letter drafted. Dear, Bob Chapek, love your, dedicated stockholder. that whole thing. I'm sure he'll read it and burn it.
Honestly, that was probably for the best, because even with 50% of the options open, I still ate too much. So I appreciated the lessened pressure.
Yep, no, that's fair. And
speaking of pressure, there is an absolute barrage of Microsoft Teams news that you and I had slated. We actually recorded the news bit of it before we left, which is why some of you will notice a costume change between
no, not me.
and the news.
I'm dedicated to my uniform.
I, of course, don't take the continuity between shots seriously enough. Although the way that I've been dressing the last couple of months, I may have accidentally worn the same thing. Who knows?
There's a good chance, actually, just looking at it. I'm not positive, but I think so. But let's kick it off to the news.
This is the news.
Coming to you in two parts today, starting with a focus on Teams collaboration. Coming this month, you'll be able to start a Teams chat with distribution groups, mail-enabled security groups, and M365 groups. Now, this item was originally delayed, and there's no word on whether it will keep the groups or just pull the users from the group. My bet's on the latter. That's coming to all clouds. The ability to send a chat at a particular time, scheduled send, should be available this month, coming to all clouds. Slack's had that for a while. The activity feed is getting an unread toggle to help you find notifications you haven't worked through yet. That's coming this month to all clouds. Viva Topics integration is extending beyond private chat to channels, where you'll be able to mention topics in conversations, not just chats. That's in preview in December and available in March. Viva Insights will suggest when a chat should be sent based on the recipient's work hours, for me, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., pushing you to the new scheduled send chat feature if it's outside of working hours. And that should be out now. Viva Connections is coming to the frontline. Frontline workers with F licenses in January can look forward to that. And with the new Approvals Graph API coming this month, you'll be able to integrate approvals into custom apps so that all approval requests can be centralized regardless of how they're experienced. Hopefully, that means that we can bring all the environment approvals into one app. Matt, wouldn't that be great? Teams meetings. Probably the biggest news about meetings is the modern meeting experience coming to the web version of Teams this month in the commercial cloud. Now, this has apparently been in preview since February, so hopefully it's good. A new payments app is coming this month, which will support getting paid for appointments, classes, and events you host in Teams. Connect to a third-party payment service, and you'll be able to use the app directly in the meeting to request payments from meeting attendees. No word yet on whether I can use that to charge people for scheduling meetings during lunch. And VDI customers are getting a number of updates. You'll be able to share system audio from meetings, create and assign breakout rooms ahead of the meeting, and get simulcast support by January. Then, Call Merge is coming in December. PowerPoint Live will let meeting participants zoom in on slides for a better look, coming in December. Teams is merging bookings into the new Virtual Appointments app, which will provide a single location for people to schedule and manage scheduled and on-demand virtual appointments. That's coming in February. As of last month, when you share a whiteboard in Teams, it no longer shares a dedicated whiteboard for that meeting. Instead, it opens up your whiteboard home interface where you can choose to share an existing whiteboard or create a new one. And lastly, coming in December to Firefox, which still exists, meetings will finally show 2x2 gallery, not just individual faces.
That was the news.
Very nice job, Pass Sean. You did such a good job multiple days ago where we thought we were going to do all of this stuff in Florida and we just ran out of time because we're having too much fun.
Well, there was also a hurricane.
Oh, that's true. And you can't just blame the hurricane on everything, man. Like, you have this responsibility in the world.
What are you kidding me? That's a built-in snow day. That's if I can't blame the hurricane, then what's the point?
All right. I guess that's fair. So what stood out to you this week that you thought was interesting?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about something that is kind of a resurgent issue or resurgent alert from the Microsoft side of things. So about a year ago, Matt, you might remember, give or take a few months, we talked about a change that Microsoft was rolling out that would let end users connect their work accounts, their Azure Active Directory accounts, to Bing Rewards. For those that don't know, Microsoft has a program that lets you accrue points for using Bing, because that's how they have to get people to use Bing, is by bribing them. And those points can then be redeemed for things like Xbox gift cards, raffle prizes, donations to nonprofits, blah, 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 blah. Rightfully so. When Microsoft announced this originally, organizations expressed concern.
Displeasure.
We expressed our concern. There were a lot of unknowns, and I think, candidly, most organizations would prefer to avoid a vendor incentivizing their employees to use one of their products. Not to mention, specifically in GCC tenants, that's the Government Community Cloud, the ethical concerns of actively bribing government employees with rewards.
I mean, you're not even allowed to like put your business card in for a raffle at a conference when you work for government, like
right.
And that you're not getting anything, like, 9,999 times out of 10,000, you're getting nothing, right? Like this, you're actually getting something every time.
Right. To say nothing of the ad revenue that they'd be pulling in. And so Microsoft pulled it back. We like to think that they pulled it back because we raised these concerns until now. So according to let me pull this up here. According to a post in the M365 admin message center, the program is back with some notable tweaks. This time, Microsoft is encouraging users to connect their work accounts to their personal accounts in order to accrue Bing Rewards points, now called Microsoft Rewards points. So you would be accruing them in your personal account by connecting your work account to your personal account. So clearly, someone in Redmond thought that the big concern was that users wouldn't like to have two separate rewards accounts. Problem solved.
No, I would think this is more about people, about the admins and the organizations coming back and saying it can't be associated with their work account. So instead, it's it's sending it over to a personal account. Now I'm really interested though, because the sovereign cloud, right, in GCC, at least the high-end DoD, you can't log into anything that requires an MSA, and commercial and GCC moderate accounts are MSAs. They are not MSAs in GCC high-end DoD, so I'll be interested. I'm sure it'll break, and I'm sure nobody's tested it, and I'm sure it'll be just great.
Now, of course, Microsoft is quick to emphasize that it's an opt-in process. They also claim that this connection won't collect, quote, any new data for targeted advertising as a result of this change, and that confidential organizational information, including search history, will not be collected on Azure Active Directory accounts, which, I gotta be honest, I'm a little skeptical as how you can possibly promise that when you keep blurring the line between personal accounts and work accounts.
Yeah.
Now, it is possible to disable the connection, the option to connect accounts before the change rolls out on December 11th. However, Matt, you'll love this. It will require running a PowerShell script, super accessible to the average admin. Now, in their defense, after December 11th, when that's kind of their no earlier than date for this rollout. After December 11th, there's supposedly going to be an actual toggle in the admin center to allow organizations to disable this change. But Matt, I pose the question to you here. Is it worth the goodwill Microsoft is burning to subvert organizational admins just so some team can hit their KPIs?
I mean, it's worth turning it off. I think I would bet money that this will be the one thing on the roadmap that comes out exactly on time, if not early.
And the thing that drives me crazy is that this is not, there's no way this is a coincidence that this is coming in the middle of the holidays for the United States.
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
This is the equivalent of dropping a press release on a Friday afternoon.
Wednesday before Thanksgiving, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not keen on this to begin with. Like there's no value to the consumer, like to the average end user. Like you can, and their flimsiest argument is that, oh, they get to, use the tools they already love and earn rewards for things like Xbox. But this is
already love.
Yes. It's I don't like it. I don't like this. This has no value for the end user. I think that it, at best, just confuses the end user. At worst, it actively, as I mentioned earlier, blurs the line between consumer and work accounts to a degree where they're gonna stop checking to see what organizational what account they're signed into before they start running searches that may end up supplying confidential or work sensitive information into a search engine.
Yeah, so I'm thinking there's a bit of a devil's advocate on this that I just kind of thought of, and I would be happy to sell this argument to them because I think they need it, but I will not give it away for free. They, when you said there's no value add, it's literally the opposite of that, though, right? It is value add, right? To the employee, they're getting something that they wouldn't have otherwise gotten. To your point about how do you separate the accounts, I think that is probably easily separable, where once you make the connection between the two accounts, all the actions that you do on the work account just sends the points over a fence to
Sure.
your personal. But the trusting people to not log in by mistake to their personal account while they're doing searches that will be saved and recorded and are not going to be protected at the same level as an E5 license would be, is totally true. But there's definitely a very comparable precedent to this, even if I don't like it, which is like, if you travel for work and you collect airline points and hotel points, you personally benefit from that. And I don't think any sort of issue with government employees doing that. It's just part of being a regular customer and being rewarded for your continued customer state. So I guess I'm kind of curious what you think, because in my head, I can't really argue that this is any different from that. So do you see a difference there?
I would say that analogy, that comparison, is something that Microsoft would happily hold up. But the reality is,
frankly,
shut up. They're actively building this in. And so from my perspective, this is them incentivizing users to use a product that has ads. So Microsoft is actively benefiting. There's no argument to make that this doesn't net benefit Microsoft more so than this kind of token handoff of points so that you can enter, a sweepstakes or donate to a nonprofit that Microsoft will then write off on their own taxes. No different than donating, 20 cents or rounding up
at the
Dollar
taxes.
General.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you there. It's still, though, if I open up the American app and I'm traveling for work and I have my personal account and I use my personal, you have to have an account these days if you really want to have any sort of modern experience with, being able to use your boarding pass on your phone, or, be able to just walk in and pick up your car at budget and your rental car and you just go. Like, I think these are pretty similar. It's just about maintaining or retaining customers and encouraging that much more use, because if the convenience is there and the incentive. So with Bing, the convenience isn't necessarily there, so you have to give them more of an incentive.
If I have a business account with American Airlines and I buy an airline ticket for my employee, those miles stay with me. And I think that same compare
for the employee, I guess, but correct. Like everywhere I've ever worked has been, I put in I will book it with a company credit card and I will do it and get my confirmation sent to like even Uber and Lyft have the whole, like, is this a business trip or is this a personal trip? Sure. And they separate the two, but you still get your rewards or whatever benefits, if you get $5 back for, I don't know, 5,000 points or something.
Well, the same is true for Uber and Lyft. There are org accounts. Like, you can have like a business Uber account, but most organizations don't want to deal with that logistical lift. But coming back to the kind of the broad analogy here is, if I'm paying American Airlines, if I've got an American Airlines enterprise account, I buy my employees their airline tickets. That all stays in-house. I'm paying Microsoft. My organization is paying Microsoft an insane amount of money. And Microsoft is double dipping.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't like it.
I don't like it for the fact that you are. It's a major security risk, because you're expecting non-educated users to do something they shouldn't do, or to not do something they shouldn't do, which would be to not mistakenly stay logged into your MSA when you are working through your work account, so that your Bing search results and whatnot aren't being tied to a personal account that is easier to. Probably easier to get access to, or hack, or, whatever else, which you're not going to get that from airline miles.
Yeah. And I will say in all good faith that Microsoft has done a good job of emphasizing the security and privacy protocols that exist within Bing already. But that doesn't negate that this is a bad faith decision to improve the KPIs of a product team. This is not about improving usability. This isn't about improving the employee user experience. This is about improving Microsoft's bottom line. And I just don't like them trying to continue to make customers out of employees of businesses that are already customers. This is no different than the self-service stuff they're doing in the Power Platform now. Organizations are eventually going to get fed up of Microsoft going under the table directly to employees and trying to figure out how they can monetize them individually. And I don't like it. All right, that's it. I'm off my soapbox.
It's funny. I want that local purchase opportunity for Power Platform to be easier to use and better, so that I don't have to play banker.
Well, then they need to figure out how to chunk these things up into teams, not individuals.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you that.
That's a product problem.
Yep.
What they're doing is a people problem here.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right. Now that I've shouted my head off, what did you find out that's interesting this week?
Well, I thought the delete chat concept for Teams was kind of interesting because there are some.
You can finally delete chats.
Yeah. So we could not delete chats, so we still can't actually. It's on its way out to come to us. But when people have asked me in the past, how do I delete a chat in Teams? You can't, right? You can leave a chat, a group chat. You can hide a chat. You can mute a chat, but you can't delete a chat. And I remember. The editor, when I wrote my book, was like, "Hey, where's the option to delete a chat?" I'm like, "Oh, that doesn't exist." And at first, they didn't believe me, and I had to show them that was not possible. So this is coming due mid-December, and you're going to be able to finally delete one-on-one, group, and meeting chats. It sounds a little bit better than it is. It's just going to delete the chat from your view. So anywhere that you're logged in, mobile device, tablet, desktop, you will no longer see that chat. Now, before this existed, and currently basically, your equivalent to this was to mute the chat and then hide the chat. So if you didn't mute it and you hit it and somebody pinged you again in that chat, it would pop back up. But if you did the two and you did it in that order, because if you hit it first and you wouldn't be able to go back and mute it, that would be difficult. Now you can actually delete. But muting, this is essentially the same thing as muting and hiding, except for one small piece, which is that if you have hidden the chat, you can still find it based on search results. So if you knew that there was something stated that was sort of unique in that chat, you can always bring it back up. Deleting a chat will actually remove it from your search results as well, which is kind of notable. So it's only deleting it from your side. And everybody sees that you left the chat, but they don't see that you deleted it. If you are in a one-on-one chat, they won't see that you left it because you can't leave a one-on-one chat. That's not a concept.
Hotel California.
Yeah, right. If you want to delete the chat and you're worried about shared content, you should worry about shared content, because the deleting of a chat does not change the fact that you may have uploaded a file and shared it in a private chat, which, of course, if you upload the file, it gets dumped into your OneDrive to the folder that's called Microsoft Teams Chat Files, and then shared with the people in that chat. So if you have content that's been shared that way, that includes images that you might upload or even paste, I think, or GIFs or things like that you've sent, those will end up in your OneDrive, and you need to either change the settings on those or delete them as well. So the admin can control this. It's going to be enabled by default. I don't really know why they would need to have admin control over this one, just because mute and hide do the same thing right now. But
Ask
the one
an
thing
admin if they need to be able to do anything, and the answer will always
well,
be yes.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. But in this case, it's still going to retain all that historical data. So it's not like this is some clever way for you to get away with saying something or harassing somebody, and then you can just kind of run away from it. That's not absolutely not the case. So if you're concerned about something you said and you want to delete it, and even if you delete the message itself, all that stuff is in the you can e-discovery all that stuff. So don't use this as some sort of excuse. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm actually curious, Slack master. So I assume that you can delete a chat in Slack. If you can, what happens? Is it just for you, or does it delete it for everybody? Did all the stuff that I just say kind of correlate with how Slack does it?
So the way that Slack works is on a message by message basis. So if you and I have a direct message conversation going on, and I delete that off of my sidebar, that conversation still exists on your side. Now, if I delete a message, however, that deletes it for both sides. Now, of course, that's organizationally controlled. So
Yep.
if you as the enterprise don't necessarily want people to be able to delete or edit their messages, you can disable those features. Specifically for editing, you can also set a time threshold. So you can say, like, for 10 minutes after you send a message, it's still editable. After that,
that's
it is no
interesting.
longer editable.
Yeah.
So that can be kind of a compromise. If you've taken away the ability to delete a message, you can at least give people the ability to, within 10 minutes, edit it to say, like, question answered, or I actually didn't mean that I wanted to lay off all those people.
Right, exactly.
So it's similar, but I think that it's still a little bit more obvious and frictionless on the Slack side of things. It's clear that the Teams one is much more, I hate to say enterprise grade in the sense that it's better, but much more.
No, it has to deal with that many more customers who have different, different needs. That's very true. Yeah, that's interesting. So my very strong opinion is that, edit and delete should be enabled. That's like one of the selling points of persistent chat in Slack, in Teams, or whatever, because that stuff is saved, right? You can run any discovery call on the admin center at any time to see who has what, or who said what terms were used, that kind of thing. Look it up based on the person. So if somebody is editing or deleting a message that they sent, and there's actually like a legitimate concern that HR or legal need to be involved in, they have access to all that stuff. So why would you not let somebody do that? If somebody's abusing their role, then like take it up with management and have management justify looking into it, right? Like,
that's a people problem, not a technology
problem.
Oh,
totally. Yeah. But I don't agree with the time-based one. So I've actually been kind of annoyed with when iOS 16 rolled out with the editing and the deleting option, that it's, I think, within 15 minutes or something. And it's like, but why? So like, yeah, you can make, quick edits, or like I spelled something wrong, or I said the wrong thing, and then update it. But honestly, some of the greatest value in updating it, or either editing or deleting messages in Teams, especially, is the status of something changed, right? So you want to go in and you want to change the fact that you said something that's no longer accurate, and it's something that might pop up in search results, or some people may go back and look at it because that's sort of a key message that was in it's a pin message in your channel, and it's got 40 responses to it. So you don't want to have to start a new thread where people have to go find it because they already know the other one exists. And that time thing, I really don't like that, because a lot of times it comes down to updating something said in the past to match what it is now, so that you're confirming that the information is still correct for that person, so they don't stumble over bad info.
I disagree. I think now, of course, I want to say that my organization, we don't do the time-based thing, but I do see the value in it for organizations that want a much more guaranteed slice in time of what those conversations actively were. And I think that of all people, you would be the person to advocate for, this is what threads are for. This is what replies to those messages are, so that you can, in a thread of a message, say, this is no longer accurate. Here's the new context.
Well, yeah, but think about, even Slack doesn't have a great UI when it comes to long threads, right? When you're on response number 38, and the top one is the one that makes the comment, and it's basically a footnote on a footnote on a footnote in a book, right? Like nobody actually thumbs all the way back to look at it unless it's something really interesting, but they have to have that incentive to know to do that. And that's the point of being able to edit, is not to point to the 38th reply, but just say like FYI. And then maybe the 38th reply is FYI, I edited the initial message because that information has changed.
I think this would actually be a really good feature to have in both Teams and Slack, the ability to pin a thread reply so that it can come up to the top.
Yeah, maybe. I would rather they figure out how to actually pin in Teams to begin with, because the pinning right now is awful. But yeah,
pinning in Slack is great.
Yeah, well, can't be perfect at everything. So that's what stood out for me, was deleting chats. So it's 2022, guys. We have made it. We finally did it. We are finally able to delete chats in Microsoft Teams. And I don't know. I think as a society and a race, we can probably call it done and check out.
Thank goodness. That's been keeping me up at night.
All right, man. Well, hey, I think that's probably good for now. We'll check in again later this month. It was really good seeing you guys in person again. Finally, we had a very good time. Again, we did not expect a hurricane in November in Florida.
No, certainly not. But of course, it was good to see you as well. And to those of you at home, happy hurricanes to those who celebrate.
We did not celebrate, although it was kind of nice that they opened the park late, because it was a long day. I worked the polls the day before and then flew out on Wednesday and got up early to do some work ahead of time. It was nice to sleep late that day, I will say.
Amen to that.
Our day of debauchery. But All right, man. Well, I think that about does it. Thanks everybody so much for watching. As always, a like and subscribe is much appreciated. Leave a comment below to start that discussion. Sean, thanks for joining me again this week. Great to hang out with you and everybody else again next week.
Baba booey, baba booey, baba booey. No worries. Yeah, I've got it down to about 3 minutes, it looks like here, and I'll just kind of make a note up at the top as we get closer to the end of the year. Teams, I can't say.
Yeah.
You have to get it when the ball does cool.
No, that's just a distraction from the good stuff that we're talking about. Premium content. People pay good money for this.
Do they?